Hello, good morning to all. I am Nikhil from GG College. Today I am going to explain you about Sir Isaac Newton, which is written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne was an American novelist and short story writer, born to Nathaniel Hawthorne and Elizabeth Manning in 1804. Hawthorne completed his graduation from Bowdoin College in 1825. His earliest writings include sketches like Mrs. Hutchinson and tales such as The Hollow of the Three Hills. He is the author of some of the iconic American short stories such as Young Goodman Brown and The Minister's Black Veil. He is now remembered as the author of the great American novels The Scarlet Letter and The House of the Seven Gables. His works often focus on history, morality, and religion. The biography of Sir Isaac Newton was published in Nathaniel Hawthorne's True Stories from History and Biography. Sir Isaac Newton was interested in a variety of subjects like mathematics, dynamics, astronomy, optics, and cosmology. He formulated the three laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation. One of his major works is the Principia Mathematica. In this short biographical essay, Hawthorne describes Newton's multifarious achievements. Now we will see how is Newton. How was Newton? Sir Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day in the year 1642. Isaac Newton was born at the small village of Woolsthorpe in England. Little did his mother think, when she beheld her newborn babe, that she was destined to explain many matters which had been a mystery ever since the creation of the world. Isaac's father being dead, Mrs. Newton was married again to a clergyman and went to reside at North Witham. Isaac was left to the care of his good old grandmother, who was very kind to him and sent him to school in his early years. Isaac was chiefly remarkable for his ingenuity in all mechanical occupations. He had a set of little tools and saws of various sizes, manufactured by himself with the aid of these. Isaac contrived to make many curious articles at which he worked with so much skill that he seemed to have been born with a saw and chisel in his hand. The neighbors looked with vast admiration at the things which Isaac manufactured and his old grandmother. He will make a capital workman one of these days. His grandmother probably say, "No fear but what Isaac will do well in the world and be a rich man before he dies." Some of his friends advised Isaac's grandmother to apprentice him to a clockmaker, for besides his mechanical skill, the boy seemed to have a taste for mathematics, which would be very useful to him in that profession. And then, in due time, Isaac would set up for himself and would manufacture curious Isaac would set up for himself and would manufacture curious clocks like those that contain sets of dancing figures which issue from the dial plate when the hours is struck, or like these, where a ship sails across the face of the clock and is seen tossing up and down on the waves as often as the pendulum vibrates. Indeed, there was some ground for supposing that Isaac could devote himself to the manufacture of clocks, since he had already made one of a kind which nobody had ever heard of before. It was set a-going not by wheels and weights like other clocks, but by the dropping of water. This was an object of great wonderment to all the people round about, and it must be confessed that there are few boys or men either who could contrive to tell what clock it is by means of a bowl of water. Besides the water clock, Isaac also made a sundial. Thus, his grandmother was never at a loss to know the hour, for the water clock would tell it in the shade and the dial in the sunshine. The sundial is said to be still in existence at Woolsthorpe, on the corner of the house where Isaac dwelt. It must have marked the passage of every sunny hour that has elapsed since Isaac Newton was a boy. It marked all the famous moments of his life. It marked the hour of his death, and still the sunshine creeps slowly over it as regularly as when Isaac first set it up. We must not say that the sundial has lasted longer than its maker, for Isaac Newton will exist long after the dial and long after the sun itself. Isaac possessed a wonderful faculty of acquiring knowledge by the simplest means. Not far from his grandmother's residence, there was a windmill which operated on a new plan. Isaac was in the habit of going thither frequently and would spend whole hours in examining its various parts. While the mill was at rest, he pried into its internal machinery when its brood seals were set in motion by the wind. He watched the process by which the millstones were made to revolve and crushed the grain that was put into the hopper. After gaining a thorough knowledge of its construction, he was observed to be unusually busy with his tools. He had constructed a model of the windmill, though not so large. Its little sails were neatly made of linen and whirled round very swiftly when the mill was placed in a draught of air. Isaac's playmates were enchanted with his new windmill. They thought that nothing so pretty and so wonderful had ever been seen in the whole world. But Isaac said, one of them, "You have forgotten one thing that belongs to a mill." What was that? From the roof of the mill to its foundation, he had forgotten nothing. He might easily have made the miniature figure of a man, but then it would not have been able to move about and perform the duties of a miller. As Captain Lemuel Gulliver had not yet discovered the island of Lilliput, Isaac did not know that there were little men in the world whose size was just suited to his windmill. It so happened, however, that a mouse had just been caught in the trap, and as no other miller could be found, Mr. Mouse was appointed to that important office. The new miller made a very respectable appearance in his dark grey coat. To be sure, he had not a very good character for honesty, and was suspected of sometimes stealing a portion of the grain which was given him to grind. But perhaps some two-legged millers are quite as dishonest as the small quadruped. Sir Isaac grew older. It was found that he had far more important matters in his mind than the manufacture of toys like the little windmill. When Isaac was 14 years old, his mother's second husband being now dead, she wished her son to leave school and assist her in managing the farm at Woolsthorpe. For a year or two, therefore, he tried to turn his attention to farming, but his mind was so bent on becoming a scholar that his mother sent him back to school and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. While making these researches, he was accustomed to spend night after night in a lofty tower, gazing at the heavenly bodies through a telescope. His mind was lifted far above the things of this world. He may be said indeed to have spent the greater part of his life in worlds that lie thousands and millions of miles away. For where the thoughts and the heart are, there is our true existence. The story of Newton and his little dog Diamond is one day when he was 50 years old and had been hard at work more than 20 years studying the theory of light, he went out of his chamber, leaving his little dog asleep before the fire. On the table lay a heap of manuscript papers containing all the discoveries which Newton had made during those 20 years. When his matter was gone, uprose little Diamond jumped upon the table and overthrew the lighted candle. The papers immediately caught fire. As the destruction was completed, Newton opened the chamber door and perceived that the labors of 20 years were reduced to a heap of ashes. There stood little Diamond, the author of all the mischief. Almost any other man would have sentenced the dog to immediate death, but Newton patted him on the head with his usual kindness, although grief was at his heart. The incident affected his health and spirits for some time, but from his conduct towards the little dog, he judged what was the sweetness of his temper. Can judge, okay, the sweetness of his temper. Newton lived to be a very old man and acquired great renown, and was made a member of Parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. But he cared little for earthly fame and honors, and felt no pride in the vastness of his knowledge. All that he had learned only made him feel how little he knew in comparison to what remained to be known. At last, in 1727, when he was fourscore and 5 years old, Sir Isaac Newton died. He has left a fame behind him which will be endurable, as if his name were written in letters of light formed by the stars upon the midnight sky. So this is all about Sir Isaac Newton. Thank you.